go to weekly, and I really feel like this community is starting to show up not only weekly but daily for these actions. And you really have to understand that you're changing and you're impacting things just by showing up. Just by continuing to show up, you're impacting the way that your community looks, and you're transforming the way that you're going to be going forward. And what you saw in the past week is you saw Tim Walz, who will show up to the funeral, but he won't show up to the action to prevent that funeral. You see what I'm saying? Tim Walz will show up to the funeral for the murdered black boy, who he wouldn't show up to the action for to prevent that from happening. Do you see what I'm saying? And there's something to that. He wants to show up to the funeral to show you. It's called performative. It's called performative caring, performative justice. And it's to pacify you, to make you think that he does care, to make you think that he's gonna be there. He'll show up to the funeral, but not show up to the action to prevent that funeral. Mayor Frey will live in a house that he would never fight for somebody else to live in. Do you see what I'm saying? These folks will fight for their jobs and their money, but they will not fight for the people. When I first came out here, I saw Tim Walz come out and talk to Del Shia. And he just talked out the side of his mouth and then he left. It was real quick. No contrition, no empathy, no nothing. He just came out and then just left. And that was it. And that was it. Amy Klobuchar will show up to the funeral and say, a boy getting pulled over shouldn't result in getting shot. But she won't say, just by breathing and being black shouldn't result in you spending 18 years in prison. And by the way, Amy was responsible for that. She locked up Maya Burrell for 18 years for no damn reason. And they didn't do the work until Nakima and Eliza showed up to one of her press conferences, and she wouldn't come out in front of everybody and talk to them. Why she still has a job, I don't know. Why she was allowed to speak at that funeral, I don't know. I don't know why they were there. Because Amy will show up to the funeral, but she ain't gonna show up to the action to prevent that funeral. Matter of fact, she'll show up to make sure that a black boy goes to jail or prison before she'll show up to an action to prevent him from going to prison or to the grave. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do going forward. 40% of Brooklyn Center's budget goes to policing. That's 22 unsworn officers and 49 full-time officers. And not a single one of them lives in Brooklyn Center. So let me tell you something. 40% of Brooklyn Center's budget goes to cops that don't live in Brooklyn Center. 40% of Brooklyn Center's budget goes to a group of people that killed Daunte Wright. Think about that. And then last week, on Friday, when we said military's out here, they're doing this and that, people said, hey, cut the scare tactics out. And then when the sun rose the next morning, they said, I'm so sorry, I just heard about the 100 folks that got arrested. People don't understand that you're living in a police state right now, and it's because this man called it. And when right-wing protesters showed up here, and Tim Walz wanted to cry for help and say, oh, I had to evacuate my 14-year-old son out of here. How the hell do you think black families feel with cops parading around from Lakeville, coming from racist sundown towns to their neighborhoods all the time? Tim got a little taste, and he didn't like it. And he went on TV and started crying about it. And good, I hope he knows how we feel. I hope he gets the experience. Because the black experience for us is a lifetime. He may have just had it for 90 minutes. And that was with a whole bunch of racist folks outside of his house. He had to move his son out. Tim doesn't represent you. Bad, but I'm just gonna tell you, I don't know if we got justice. Because I believe justice is living in a world where Daunte Wright is still alive. I believe justice is living in a world where all these people are still alive. I believe justice is living in a world where Kim Potter understands cognitive dissonance at the age of 5. I believe justice is living in a world where Derek Chauvin is not a serial killer. If you look at his track record, go to Communities United Against Police Brutality, it reads longer than your laundry lists. And Mayor Fry ensured that he still had a job. Justice is holding those people accountable before our black brothers end up into the grave. In this country, black men are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by cops than white men. But the kicker is, black men are 2.5 times less likely to be armed than those white men when they're killed. So that tells you, unarmed black men are being killed by cops more than armed white men. Now, I don't like any of those numbers, but that's the reality. And that's the world that you have to change. That's the thing that you have to change. And it ain't just about black men. Although we're by far predated upon by cops, statistically higher than anybody else. But this is about everybody. This is about Asian lives, it's about trans lives, about non-binary folks, by our brothers and sisters, Somali lives, Muslim lives, all the people that are affected by police brutality, Native lives. We need to change the world going forward so we live in a world that already has justice. So today I'm wearing my grandfather's jacket. His name was Lauren Van Duzen, and they called him Doc because he was real good at music theory, and he played the trombone, and he played in the band before they had synthesizers and fake music at the Twins games and the Vikings games. He'd be on the parade, the big Vikings parade. So I know that my grandfather, he didn't really, I don't think he expected, he was an old white man, and I don't really think he expected, you know, a young brown kid running around his living room and teaching trombone to him, teaching trombone to me. But he did it with grace, and I loved him for it. And I know y'all had grandparents as well. And they may not have expected y'all to be here right now. And maybe they stood on the edge of a dime knowing that you would be here right now. But the whole point is that you have people that came before you to ensure that you were here right now. And maybe they may have done some things in the past that you're standing against and you want to change for the future that you're going to lead to. And they won't have to come out here. They won't have to stand in solidarity to demand that somebody they pay 6 digits to does their damn job. So I want you to just think about the folks that are watching you right now that aren't here right now. Even these folks right here that have these posters with the names on them. I believe that they're watching us. I believe that they're watching us, and I believe that the people before them are watching us as well. So I want you to just join in on a song here that we sing, and we'll kind of elevate with it, we'll go down with it, and then we'll wrap it up. And as I always say, you can be off key, but you can't be off beat, okay? You can be off key, but you can't be off beat. All right, and just sing along. Watching, I know they're watching. Ancestors watching, I know. Ancestors, they're watching. Ancestors watching, I know. A little louder. Ancestors watching, I know they're watching. I know you may have lost somebody. Keep going. I know. Ancestors, but they're watching you right now. They're watching where you're standing right now and what you're standing for right now. Keep going. Come on.